Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me on another oil painting tutorial. And this time I decided to do something summery, although winter is coming. I guess it's a way to say goodbye to summer. But I'm starting off with a little bit of cobalt teal and titanium white to get this sky. And I don't want it to be very bright, I just want a very subtle sky. So it's just a little bit of cobalt and a lot of titanium. And I did the same thing. I got quinacridone magenta and a lot of titanium white as well. And that just makes the sky really, really light and soft. So right now I'm just sketching in how I want this river to go. And I know I want trees on either side, and I want these mountains in the background. Now I want these mountains to look very far away. So in order to achieve the mountains, to make them look like they're this far away, I took the sky color of that cobalt teal and titanium white mixture, and I just added just a little bit of burnt umber. That's how you can tell the difference between the sky and the mountain. They look very similar, but the mountain looks a little bit darker, and that's because I added a little bit of burnt umber to it. Now I'm not exactly sure where I want the edge of my river to be exactly. So I'm just kind of going over, I'm adding the sun to the water and I'm pushing it past my sketch because I could always go in with the green and cover it up if I went too far past where I want the river to go. This color is sap green, a little bit of cadmium yellow just to get some highlights in there, and the further back I go, I added a lot more of ultramarine blue with some burnt umber, and that's how I got that kind of bluish green that's the background trees. Just adding little humps, and I'm going in with a darker green. This is more just sap green. I think there might be a little bit of viridian green in this as well. And I'm just going in to identify where the shadows are on the bank of this river. And this is going to be my tree line, so I want the underneath side of it to be darker. And I'm going to be adding trees in the back. Everyone has to add a little happy tree in their painting, right? So I want this all to be woods. And this right here, I'm using a dagger brush because the harder you push, the thicker the branches will get. And then the thinner, if you just use the tip, which it comes to a very fine point, you can get very delicate twigs. And it's all using the same brush. Because I don't like to wash my brushes while I'm painting, I try and find brushes that you can use to do all the same thing. This is just a fan brush to get some little bit of grass detail. And I filled in a lot of the leaves. And I just did that using the fan brush as well and just kind of threw on some color right there. And I'm going in, this is a small little round brush, it's a number 2, and I'm defining the leaves just a little bit more. And when it starts to get a little too muddy, if I'm starting to add a little bit too much paint, I'll just let it sit and wait. Sometimes I have a shop rag. If you blot it off, you could continue with it, but most of the time I only get a little bit of time to paint between these sessions, so most of the time I'll just let it just sit and dry and I'll come back to it the next day. I'm going in and I'm darkening these trunks. And that's helping some trunks to look like they're in the distance, and that brings some trees forward. Just adding some shadows here and there. Defining these trees over here a little bit more, and I'm still using that dagger brush to do all this little detail work. Again, I'm just dabbing on. I think this is a flat brush. It's a synthetic brush. Just adding some darker leaves now towards the middle of the tree. And this is sap green with a little bit of ultramarine blue mixed in it, and that's how it gets a little darker. Just stippling on some variations. You can see this underneath brush, and I'm adding a little bit more shadow to all this grassy area. And this is all just part 1. I'm going to go and back in and define all the leaves a little bit more. I'm going to take a liner brush and I'm going to make all the grass and make it kind of long and wavy. So there's still a lot to do with this painting, but I'm happy with, I guess, what you can call the underpainting. This is actually turning out pretty good in my opinion. I think I'm going to add some wildlife in here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be ducks in the sky that land in the water, or if it'll be a deer that's coming out of the brush. Let me know what you guys think I should put in this painting in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you would like to see me paint. So right now I have a very stiff flat brush, and I'm just adding on some cadmium yellow that's just mixed in with a little bit of the sap green, and I'm just adding some highlights here and there. And whenever I mess up, I told you I have that little shop rag. I just rip a little section up off of it and just wipe it right back off with the canvas if I mess up. So very easy to fix oil paintings. Stepping back, you always try to step back from your canvas about every 5 or 6 brush strokes actually, because you'll start to see a pattern, and that's what I started to see with this row of bushes down here. It was looking way too manicured to actually find in the wild. So I brought some little stranglers out. And I just wanted to thicken up that branch because when I stepped back, it looked a little too thin for such a tall tree for me, especially for it being so close up as well. It's just way too thin. And this really helps to add some texture and depth to this tree in the foreground. I'm adding some highlights to that middle section, middle tree. And I thought it needed a little guy out there in the field. And this is just the base of the tree that's growing, another little branch down from the root of it. And if you've ever really noticed a lot about trees, that happens a lot. So final touch, I'm going to add some leaves onto this distant tree, and we will call this a done painting for part 1. I hope everyone really enjoyed that. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the little bell so you get notified every single time I upload a new video. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!